Most guys freeze. That's your cerebral cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows you're screwed.
Your body's filling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. Your heart's beating fast. It's getting a little harder to breathe. The neurobiological system is telling it to run, but your knees are too weak to move.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity.
Hey, Nora.
Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100%.
Yeah, turn that fan off all the way.
Reporting to danger. Unafraid.
Lisa. Hi, Justin.
Hey, Lisa, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Radio.
I added Tim, but I don't see him on yet.
Okay, I emailed him twice, so hopefully
Okay.
he'll come in.
Most are afraid of unknown depths, skirting shores thinking world flat, and with the island girls in celebration of new religion. Nobody led me or said this way. I sailed alone on makeshift raft with wind as companion. Fate for deliverance, confidence enough to assess new disposition. Seekers of lost paradise may seem fools to those who never sought the other world. Welcome to Momentary Zen with Zen Garcia. Visit www.fallenangels.tv. You're listening to Revolution Radio.
Well, shalom.
Hello.
And oh, hey, Zen, go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just, no, go right ahead, Lisa. But I'm going to sit shotgun until we get Tim on with us.
Oh, great. Okay, good. Because I was trying to figure out what I was going to do in the meantime while we're waiting for Tim. So thank you so much, Zen. We can have a little conversation. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, welcome
Good.
everyone to another show. We're waiting Tim Schwab to join us from the God Culture all the way in the Philippines. So we're still kind of getting used to our new tech here with Microsoft Teams. So hopefully Tim will be joining us shortly. In the meantime, this is Lisa George, your host. And as you heard, Zen is here with us today. He will also be in the chat, but as soon as Tim comes in, I will be hosting. So Zen, how are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing fairly well. Just been busy trying to get this book done. It is my narrow focus right now. I want to finish it as soon as possible, hopefully by the end of this month. And I know I still have to write up that testimony for you. I have it all written up in poetry in prose, but I'll definitely do it in like paragraph form for you as well, and that will be right after this book is done. But so those are the two things I want to try to focus on and get all that completed. But how are you? How's the weather in Hawaii and family?
Yeah, it's beautiful as usual, and we just had a surprise visit from Isaac Kaylee and our granddaughter. It's always fun when they stop by unannounced.
Awesome.
She's smiling and she's able to focus on us and everything now. So it's so cute to be able to kind of interact with her as she's coming out of that newborn phase, I guess you could say. She just turned 2 months. I can't believe it already. But yeah, she's doing well. I'm actually working on a little, they asked me to make a little thing that she can focus on while she's in her carrier in the car. And so I'm sewing that up right now. I have a few little things to hang down there that she can interact with. One of them is the Filipino eagle that we got when we were in the Philippines, like a tiny little rendering of one made of felt. And I have a little Australia koala bear that we got when we were in Australia. and a kangaroo. So Adrian and Donna, if you guys are in the chat, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, we were in Australia a couple of years ago, and so we just picked up some souvenirs, and they just thought it would be cute for her to see the things that we brought back for them and be able to have them dangling above her little carrier in the car. So that's what I've been working on. And I'm actually working on another book as well. I'm
Nice.
trying to I need to add in some more things to that Ola Means Healing book, and I really appreciate you working on your testimony for that. I'm still waiting for, I believe, 2 other testimonies from people who have been healed, and then we can get that going, we can get that published. But the other book I'm working on is to kind of tie in the research that I've done together with what I've learned from you, Zen, and what I've learned from the God Culture, from Tim and Anna, and just kind of tie everything in together, because it seems like there's so much good research out there, but wanted to just tie all in, especially what happened in the garden, and especially where the garden's located and how that all ties in with the rivers of Eden, and just kind of make a summary of where the Tower of Babel is. The research that I've done, I just thought it would be cool to have a book that tied all that together. So I've been busy with that too. And I'm helping Tim and Anna write another book as well. So I've been pretty busy. They're working on gathering more research. Of course, that the Philippines is Ophir and the land of creation, the land of Havilah as described in Genesis 2, and the location of the Garden of Eden, location where Noah built his ark out of Ophir wood instead of, it says in the Bible, gopher wood, and we always wondered what that was, but the translator just added a G on the front of it. It's supposed to be Ophir wood or Ophir wood. And so just a lot of stuff going on. And as usual, the weather's great here. I'm planning to go do some surfing tomorrow, so that'll be fun.
Nice. What a blessing that is to just be able to go out to the ocean and to be on those islands in tropical paradise.
Yeah,
But
it is a blessing. I really do feel blessed living here and just seeing all the different weather changes. It's nice in the mainland, especially fall is beautiful because we don't have that here where the leaves change or anything. And we like to spend some time in the fall in colder climates when we can, so we can witness that. But and where you're at too, I mean, I'm sure spring is in full force. Yeah, what do you have growing there in your yard, Zen?
oh goodness, we've got a lot of everything. Many varieties of different tomatoes and cucumbers and squash and a whole bunch of different varieties of lettuce, Swiss chard, romaine, red leaf, different types, and cilantro, parsley, thyme, a bunch of different herbs, and then uh, blueberries and tiger lilies and a bunch of flowering crops, and then we have a bunch of fruit trees as well, and um, the peach and the Granny Smith apples are putting out um, fruit this year, so that's exciting, and watching them grow, and then walnut trees and different things like that, but a whole wide variety of different stuff, raspberries, golden raspberries, blue, I said blueberries and blackberries and muscadines and grapes, both green and Concord, the purple. So just trying to grow everything. And, the flowers are beautiful as well, but um, I like to grow plants that, we can utilize the fruit, the berries, because those are also beautiful in their blossom and their bloom. We have wisteria and gardenias and jasmine and honeysuckles, which are intoxicating as far as their smells. They're just beautiful. I love the gardenias when they start to bloom because the smell is just so strong and so just pleasant to be able to take in.
Oh
But how about
yeah.
yourself?
Yeah, we're like all the berries and everything you mentioned, we can't grow those here just because of the climate. I guess they need a little bit cooler climate, and then plus the bugs would just devour them. If they are grown here, they have to be in greenhouses. Like I know people, or I've actually tried to grow strawberries when I was younger, and it's horrible. Unless it's in a contained area, like where there's the pests can't get to them, it's just crazy. And then they need to be in a place where there's seasonal weather, not just like the pretty much the same temperature year round. So I really do miss having like the fresh blueberries and blackberries and raspberries and things I enjoyed when I was attending college in Oregon. And there it was cool because you could go to farms and like pick your own. And we don't have that here. We don't have peaches, but we do have all the tropical fruits and like in the flowers, like we have a plumeria tree in our yard that's always smelling beautiful. That's a common flower that they make leis out of. And I wanted to give you an update on our chickens. We have 4 hens, and then of course that rogue rooster comes around. He comes like at clockwork now. He comes right at sundown to announce that it's time for them to go to bed. And then he crows sometimes at like 2 in the morning. I think he's excited to wake them up because then right when the sun rises at like 6 in the morning, he's out there crowing again. And then the hens come running out of the coop, and it's so funny. Noble and I were joking. He's like their alarm clock or something. He has them on his schedule, and we can't see him anymore because Noble scared him off out of our yard, but he does perch on top of our neighbors' houses, and we can hear him now, but we can't really see where he's at. So he's still lurking around, but it's kind of funny how he's always there. We can always hear him, that he's nearby somewhere. He knows that there's hens in the neighborhood, I guess.
Still announcing his presence.
Oh yeah, and hopefully in a few months, they should be starting to lay eggs. They're still kind of in the later teenage stage, I guess. And in the meantime, we just get our eggs from a local farm that they have nearby. And they're so much fresher and so much better than the ones at the grocery store. It's just, there's no comparison for anyone who's had like the dark orange yolk egg compared to like the pale yellow ones you get at the grocery store. There is no comparison.
Oh yeah, and the flavor is just so much different.
Yeah. Oh, definitely, for sure. And we have the tropical fruit here too. I mean, we have things that you have to pay quite a bit on the mainland, and we have abundance of pineapple and lychee and mango and let's see, lanzones. There's just so much different tropical fruit that can only grow in this type of a climate. So I appreciate all of that. But I do miss like the berries and stuff. That's one thing I noticed, that it's really tough to grow here and extremely expensive to buy if you're going to buy the organic ones anyway. So even apples, we can't grow apples here. There is a type of apple called the mountain apple that's like a tropical type. It doesn't even really taste like an apple. It just looks like a little small apple, but the flavor is totally different. But that's just, I guess, part of living in different climates, I guess, right?
Yeah, you take advantage of what is available, and because there's this one juice that I used to love. It's called Mauna Lai Hawaiian Guava Passion Fruit.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I believe it's from Hawaii, and I used to love that juice. But yeah,
Yeah.
so that grows there with you, and
Right.
so yeah, taking advantage of the local uh, fruits and delicacies. But yeah, having access. I know you guys have to import a lot in to the mainland there, and I'm sure that gets expensive.
Oh, definitely. And then like it's sad because the Hawaiian culture has kind of lost their desire or ability to grow things. So there's not that many farms here on our island anyway. And 90% of our food is shipped over from mainland and from other countries. So can you imagine that it would just be like this crazy scramble if all of a sudden that was cut off? Everyone would all of a sudden either have to hurry up and learn how to grow, or would just like raid the nearby farms, which there aren't that many to feed, over 1 million people on this island. The other islands is a lot different. There's like a lot of farms on like the Big Island, and Molokai. Kauai has quite a few farms, but they have a very small population compared to here where Honolulu is. And they don't have the big city feel at all like there is here. But I wanted to take a moment to say hi to everybody in the chat. Hey, Brick, Tammy, Sharon, our moderators, and everyone's telling Noble happy birthday. Nope, tomorrow's Noble's birthday.
Happy birthday, Noble.
Yeah, so we will be celebrating. I've planned like a little staycation for us, and we're gonna play tourists in Waikiki for a few nights. So that's where we're gonna be going
Nice.
after the show.
Right
But
on.
yeah, it's
That's cool.
such,
That's great.
yeah, it's a blessing to be able to celebrate things like with Noble has grandchildren from his previous marriage, and one of his granddaughters is graduating this year from high school, and she's gotten a whole bunch of scholarships. She's been accepted to a pretty prestigious college in Massachusetts, and she's going to be receiving some awards on Friday, so we'll be attending that ceremony for her. And she's really worked hard. She's such a good girl. I just pray, she's going into biology, and I just pray that the Most High just leads her in wherever she goes, because it's a little scary going so far away to the East Coast, by yourself from Hawaii after growing up here.
Oh,
So,
yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's a lot different, no doubt.
Oh, yeah, she has to get like a whole new wardrobe, that's for sure. And she just experienced like 2 years ago her first time ever seeing snow, because we don't have that here. So she's in for a shock for the winter, I think.
Yeah, you're in a place where you guys wear sandals all year long.
Oh yeah,
and run around in shorts and t-shirts.
Yeah, I kind of get cold in the winter, but I'm kind of a wimp. If it gets below 70 degrees, I'm already pulling on my socks and my sweatshirt and sometimes gloves. But yeah, it is a huge change. I mean, I remember when I went off to college and to Oregon from here, and that's a lot closer than Massachusetts. It's it's easier to travel between the two places, but that was a pretty big shock for me too, with just experiencing the cold weather and raining all the time, and just a whole different culture. Like over here, it seems like everybody knows everybody almost, or knows somebody in their family, and there it's like everyone seems so distant from family and relatives and stuff. But yeah, so that's what our week is like. But I really appreciate, Zen, you working on the testimony for the book. I've kind of put it on the back burner, just waiting for like 2 or 3 other testimonies to add to it, and then I'm adding another 2 chapters in there about Lyme disease and things that people can do if they've been diagnosed with chronic Lyme. So that's still a work in progress.
Yeah, and you said you were working on a different one. How's all that, and what's the title for it?
I haven't came up with a title yet for it. I'm thinking of possibly including something like royal pains or something like that, because I'm going to be tying in my research with the royal bloodlines, kind of similar to like what I've learned from you and from Gary Wayne, and tying them into the Nephilim, and to actually exactly who they are today, and who among them is, because it's all based on the bloodlines, the rulership class, right? So like,
absolutely,
how they're tied into the Nephilim a bit, and also exactly who they are today, and any other new information that I've discovered. So I think I'm going with maybe something along the lines of royal pains or something, because they are just so entitled and so like feeling, well, they know that they have their divine right to rule based on their ancestors. So and they definitely want to always have lead over everyone else. They want to be called the elite, or the Elites, as I call them. So tying that all the way back into the garden, and even before, to the fallen angels, is something I'm planning to do.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been working on with this poetry book, the Seekers of Lost Paradise. I have ones that are specific to a lot of what I have come to understand with regard to the biblical mysteries and the prophetic word, and I have been writing about that same thing with the bloodlines and the wars and the fallen angels, the antediluvian age, the giants, the whole theme of the garden, the fall of humanity. All of that is incorporated, and then, of course, there's much with regard to um, things like chemtrails and C-19 and things like that, and how because not only do I write a lot of the poems, but I provide quotes, and I like to use that to emphasize the poems that I'm working on. So I pull quotes out of, like the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, the Illuminati Secret Covenant, and so on and so forth, and a lot of quotes from extra biblical material that is relevant to what I'm writing about, but that may not be well known by a lot of people. And
Okay.
so in writing this book, I touch on those kind of things as well so that people can have them. And also the poetry that is referencing the different information that I'm covering in this text. But it's 350 plus pages. So I'm trying
Wow.
to narrow it down and reduce it a little bit because I don't always want to overwhelm people with too much information, and I have a habit of doing that.
No, I appreciate your information, and you're such an amazing poet, Zen. And I wanted to thank you too. A couple days ago, I received the book order
Oh,
that
good.
just been sent. So thank you so much, and included your other poetry book I didn't have yet. So I'm definitely diving into all of those. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. I'm
Yeah,
looking
no
forward
worries.
to.
That
Yeah, when
that
I
one
read
is
your.
very rare. There's not very many copies of that around anymore. So,
Wow, yeah, because when I read your first poetry book, I think it was you gave it to us when we visited you guys, like I think a couple years ago before the conference, and I was just blown away. I was like, wow, I've never read a poetry book like this where you just feel so connected to you, like through all your life experiences, and the way you describe it is so visual, where I could just imagine everything that you were going through as I was reading, and it's so emotional as well. I did shed some tears during it because I really just felt connected to all your experiences that you shared there. And I recommend it to anyone who would love to read Zen's poetry because he is an amazing poet. So I'm looking forward to your new book.
well, thanks. I appreciate that. And, I wanted to do something different this time. I've been writing book after book after book and presenting a lot of information, but I just wanted to go back to creative writing because that was my foundation at the very beginning. My first three books were poetry, and but then I started writing very elaborate books about the things that I was discovering and reading the Word, and especially a lot of the extra biblical material. So it's nice to return back to that for a while. My son also is a really incredible poet, and he has a couple of poetry books out. If people are interested, you can also find them at sacredwordpublishing.com. But and if anybody is interested, certainly just email me, and I'll probably just do a giveaway as well. Yeah, in fact, since we're talking about it, um, we'll after maybe the first break, we'll do a question, and then I'll do a giveaway and give out some books.
Oh, what a treat. That'd be great. So you're going to come up with the question? I think we have a lot of
No, you come up
avid
with the
listeners.
question.
What is that? You want me to
I'll
come up
let
with the
you come
question?
up with the question.
Okay. All right, I'll come up with the question. We have a lot of avid listeners here. I'm looking in the chat, and they all really appreciating your work. And Cheryl's saying excellent content and pictures, information. The slideshow that we have going on during the show. I believe a lot of those photos were taken by, is it by Joy's father? He's a photographer, right?
Yes, yes, he is an amazing photographer and has a lot of different galleries filled with his work, and he sells very large print copies for people to hang in their living rooms. And for the people that have supported us and buying the Enochian lunar solar calendar, all of the images that are contained therein, going back years, for maybe 5, 6, who knows, maybe it's been even a decade now, but for a very long time we've been putting out the calendars, and all of his work is displayed in those. So I'm sure many people are familiar with a lot of the images, but they are all very incredible for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh my goodness. And it's nice to have them displayed here with scripture and everything while everyone's listening to us talk. And for those who are visual learners, it's nice to have it up there. And I'm thinking that the reason Tim is running so late again is probably two things. Since we switched over to Teams, that might be an issue that he's trying to get in there. I've emailed him a couple times, so hopefully he should be coming on in. And also, they're always being under attack with the technology there. Even when we have conversations with them, like on other social media platforms, it seems like it's very kind of glitchy quite a bit of the time. So yeah, so we apologize to everyone. Hopefully Tim will be coming in soon. I do see a request in the chat over here on Teams, so I'm going to take a look at that, Zen, while we are talking here. Yeah, on just a sec. Okay,
all
I
right,
think that's
and
something else.
yeah, while you're checking that out, I'll just thank everybody in the chat and all the people that have come to support our work, and especially the moderators. We have such a lively and incredible community, and I know that there's a lot of you out there that are examining, listening to, and going back and checking out the archives. And many people have also come here from the work that Rob and I did over the years, and so um, I just want to thank everybody for opening yourself to new possibility and for seeking truth like you don't find it in a lot of other places. I know that um, we're ostracized by a lot of alternative truth communities and people, and even you as a listener, just listening to us, that many people are going to ridicule you, and they will also attack you. And it's unfortunate that it's that way, but it is. And so those of you that open yourself to the possibilities of the work that we do, thank you for doing so. And yeah, so we'll do a book giveaway, and I'll give out some copies of my previous poetry book, and then after I publish this new one, I'll do a giveaway and maybe spend a night where I read through some of the material. Um, and as I said, some of the poems are from that I've published in, like, my Skyfall book. I've in between the chapters I published a bunch of different poems, and also in the Flat Earth as Key to Decrypt the Book of Enoch, I wrote a bunch of poems about my awakening to biblical cosmology, and I wrote a bunch of poems regarding and trying to relate that experience and what it was like. As I'm sure many of you also, that it's like profoundly moving
Oh,
and challenging.
sure.
Go ahead,
For sure.
Lisa.
No, go ahead, Zen. I was just agreeing that yes, that awakening was like probably one of the most major awakenings experiences of my life. It really changed a lot of the way Noble and I saw things and saw the world.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they say turn your world upside down. In truth, this turns your world flat.
Right.
So, but yeah, it brings you to that kind of a understanding. Um,
Yeah, and
So,
speaking of getting attacked, Tim and Anna were sharing with us in our last conversation that we had with them about a week and a half ago or so that there's several bloggers out there that personally attack them on every count. Like they've even contacted like family members they have in the mainland. They've openly made like really horrible drawings and renderings of the way the two of them look. It's just, I mean, drawing them in just horrible different depictions, and it's just, I mean, they've filed complaints against this one of the particular bloggers, but even in their Amazon books, there's comments in there, and they've contacted Amazon to ask them to please take these comments down because they're extremely derogatory. I mean, it is abusive what they're doing, what these several bloggers are doing to them. But it seems like either these people just have so much hate in their hearts, or else they're hired by somebody to attack those of us who are part of the truth movement, and especially those who are believers in Messiah. I feel like that you can tell there's just a lot of hate that is, and I know you've experienced that as well, Zen, and it's not fun to go through. It is not
yeah, a
fun to
little
go
bit,
through.
little bit of that.
Yeah, just a small amount, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, just knowing who is behind all of this, that we're not wrestling against flesh and blood, but it's the entities that are just, they're trying to like squash the truth. I mean, just recently there's a movie that came out. I can't remember the name of it. It was on Netflix. It was like a small time, not in theater type of movie. And it depicted the main character was this girl, and she was trying to decide which guy that she was going to date, and she was getting set up on all these blind dates. One of the guys that she was set up with, it depicted him as like a guy who was like kind of spiritual, and he was like doing yoga, and then they were having a conversation, and he said, well, one of the main things that really changed my life was realizing the shape of our cosmology. And she was like, what is that? And she's this beautiful girl and everything. And he said, oh, well, I believe the earth is flat. And she like screamed and she ran away, and she said, I'm never going to go back to that one, you know. And so it just like makes us seem like we're like these crazy people just for having,
Right.
just for knowing the truth.
Right. Yeah, and you know they demonize us with those kind of things, with that kind of reaction, and they indoctrinate people to have that knee-jerk type of response, and so
Oh,
it's
totally.
unfortunate.
Yeah, you could see it. I mean, just to have it like, I mean, this has been like over 10 years since I awoken to the, well, yeah, about 10 years since I awoken to the truth of our cosmology, and the media is still doing this kind of stuff. This was like a really recent release, I think just like last year or something, and they're still like, I mean, they promote things that are totally ridiculous, like Katy Perry going to the moon, but yet and they think that everyone should totally believe that. But when it comes to like knowing the truth through biblical proof and through visual proof, you can totally prove it, especially here in Hawaii, where we're surrounded by water, that no, we're the crazy ones, right?
Right. I don't know if you have heard of some of the things that Trump has been doing in with regard to like the medicines. He just signed an executive order that makes all of the pharmaceutical drugs, they're going to have to make them affordable here in America. He has basically forced them to match the prices that they are selling them everywhere else in the world. And so the prices of pharmaceuticals here in the country are going to come down 30 to 80%, which is amazing because I know a lot of people, especially if they don't have health insurance, trying to pay for their meds out of pocket. It's a tremendous strain. So
Oh
that's
yeah.
going to be a positive benefit.
Yeah, Noble mentioned that to me. I wasn't sure about all the details, but that's definitely a step in the right direction. I mean, I remember I was doing some research about just something simple that other countries that, you know, they call so-called third world countries, or like Mexico or the Philippines or something, where deworming is like a really common thing. Like they start deworming children with a public health worker will actually come to your house. My friend who is a public health worker in the Philippines is telling me this. They come to your house, and the parents have to sign some forms if they do not want their child to have a deworming pill at age, I think it's 3 that they start out doing this. And then but most of the parents are no problem. It's a free service from the government there. And so children deworm regularly twice a year. And then in the United States, for that same pill, the pharmaceutical companies charge $900 for one pill. The
That's
same exact thing that you get
insanity.
free. And I think it's in Mexico, it's like $3 or something. It's ridiculous. It's like they want everyone in the US to have a ton of parasites. I mean, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. It's absolutely insane. Like this one individual, he was speaking to Trump about, because he travels across the world, and he was telling them how he was able to fulfill his prescription in London for $30, and when he came back here to New York, he had to pay $900 for the
Wow.
exact same thing from the exact same, you know, as far as the pharmaceutical company wherever they manufactured it. And there's a lot of places like South Africa and others that just pay pennies on the dollar, and we're having to pay hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars just to uh, get access to these meds. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's robbery. It's just like it's kind of like
It
taxes.
really
It's
is.
theft, robbery, whatever else you want to call it, by our own government. It's just when you see, and I think people are becoming more global as far as travel destinations. So people from the U.S. are awakening to all this. I think that might be one of the reasons our government finally has to do something, because you travel to other countries like you just mentioned, to Great Britain or to other Mexico or countries in East Asia, and everything is so much less expensive and more. I mean, you can buy in Mexico, you can buy antibiotics right at like a pharmacy store,
Right,
you don't
right,
have to have a prescription even. And so and antibiotics aren't the greatest for you, but still it's like readily available. You don't have to have a prescription. So that
right.
cuts out like the doctor and, but of course here everyone needs to get their hand in the stash of money to have their payment to have, just like a small amount of medication. So that's a good step in the right direction that Trump is doing, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of good things happening. Like RFK is working to remove the fluoride from the water. He's taking out all the dyes that are not found in our food supply in other countries that are illegal in those nations, but legal here. And, they're so um, tied to many allergies and um, just hyperactivity and different things in the kids. He's doing a study where they're trying to find the the cause of the autism and Asperger's spectrum disorders within children, because that has gone from being, 1 in 10,000 previously to now 1 in 36 children, and especially with males, the testosterone in children works adversely with some of the hokey pokeys that kids are mandated to receive. But anyways, that's a lot of good things, a lot of positive things happening. Um,
Oh yeah. Yeah, I see in the chat Leonard is saying his cardiovascular medication was $1,000 for a prescription, so he had to fight to get generic. That is just crazy. And then Sherry's mentioning that eyeglasses are another thing that are much more expensive in the US. And I agree. I started ordering Nobles of my glasses online just because going to try to buy it from the eye doctor, a regular store where you try them all on and everything. You can actually try it on virtually at some of these online glasses companies for so much less. I think the last pair of glasses I got from, I think I used iBuy Direct or something like that, and Noble's glasses were like $25, as opposed to before we were paying over 200 every time we had to change prescriptions. So yeah, it's good steps in the right direction. Oh, and not to mention dental costs. In 2019, a naturopath that we were working with recommended that I get the silver amalgam fillings taken out of my teeth because I didn't know how much they were affecting my health. That's another thing.
oh
And
yeah,
so,
those things that kill you.
oh my gosh, I had them in every single tooth except for like the
Oh
front
gosh.
eight. Yeah, and
Wow.
I didn't realize how bad it was making my health. So he recommended we go to like a biological dentist here, which there's only one on the island, and we went to get pricing, and it would have cost us over $30,000 to have all of those removed and replaced
Oh
here, which
my gosh,
of
that's
course we did
insane.
not have. Yeah, so we went to we have a friend whose niece is a dentist in the Philippines. And so in 2019, that was our first trip there. She set it all up. She had us there for a month, and every other day during on weekdays she would work on my teeth, so I'd have a break in between. And so she took everything out, she all nicely, and she replaced it with porcelain, and I had to have some other work done, and including like a bite guard she made for me. I mean, a whole bunch of work, the same exact thing that the biological dentist here would have done. Guess what the cost was for all of that?
300.
A little more than that, but as opposed to 30,000, I paid 1,500 for all of that in the Philippines. So that basically, covered our hotel
That's a
stay,
good
our
deal.
plane. Oh, it was so much better. And plus it was good we knew someone, who had a connection there to a good
Oh
dentist. So
yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, that was so worth it. And then after that, we kind of fell in love with the islands over there, and planning to make another trip there again sometime soon. So that just solidified our love for that area. I mean, to me, it's so much like Hawaii, but Hawaii about 50 years ago and at about 1/8 of the cost of things here. So it's all around pretty good. I enjoy visiting there, and especially with the ministries that we've connected to there. And I'm not sure if I told you we attended a conference there last year. It
Yeah,
was
I remember.
yeah, Tim and Anna Schwab were speakers there, and there was like over 5,000 people attending, and they had praise and worship. Their music is just amazing, and I've never been to a conference like that. It was just I couldn't even believe that there's so many people that were awakened to all of the corruption, and that was the most people that I've met who are aware of our true cosmology in one place, over
That's
5,000 people
amazing.
that were all flat earthers. It was so cool. It was really a cool experience. And they all speak English as well. That's one of the few countries in Asia that they're taught in starting elementary school, English right alongside with Tagalog or their other dialects that they have there. So language is not an issue there like how it is in Japan or Korea or like Thailand. That you don't have to worry about trying to translate because they all speak English very well. So it's a great place to travel to. And speaking of that, I've tried to get in touch with Tim several times. I haven't heard back yet, so I'm guessing because I reminded him of this last week, so I'm guessing they're having a technical issues then. Not
Yeah,
sure.
it's all good. After the first hour, which we're almost to the next break, we'll go into some Thracian Chronicle material. Something that
Great.
I've been wanting to share with the listening audience for a while, anyways. And it's next week on Wednesday, the bishop from the Thracian Church, the brother of Stephen Guide, Savetan Guide, will be joining us. They're going to send us another video of the responses that they've made to the questions that we've imposed upon them. And the Thracian Church has access to some books of Enoch that we do not have available in English translation, as well as what is called the Bessica Bible, which is a very ancient Bible, goes back to the time of Rome. This Bible was used by the Thracian people even before Rome took them over and conquered them and decimated the tribes. So
Oh, nice.
yeah, so
Nice.
that's going to be interesting. That will be a very cool show. But go ahead, Lisa.
No, I was just looking in the chat. Everyone's cheering. They're all excited about I know we all love to hear about the Thracian material, and it's so cool because you have this connection with them, and this is not something that's read anywhere on any other platform, I believe, except for yours then.
Yeah, yeah. There's not a lot of people that know about this information, or and especially do not have the contacts. I'm very blessed. I had a friend who was a linguist from Sweden, and he started making translations of these texts. And then I started to pay him to do these translations, and he sent them to me. And then afterwards, when I started to read them online and on the air, the bishop reached out to me, and the Thracian church themselves got in touch with me, and they asked me to please not release the material in print form until we receive permission to do so. And since that time, we now have that permission, and we are working on those translations. It's just I'm not able to help, and my one friend, Stella, that is working diligently to translate a lot of this material. She recently, her mother had passed away, so she's been trying to get all of that taken care of. And her mother lives in Bulgaria, and she lives here in Maryland. And so, but she also will be joining us for a show very soon. I just have to
Great.
find some open dates, which um, I'll do that, and then we'll be able to ask her questions. She's going to share some of her new translations as well, and so uh, even though progress is slow, at least we are advancing and moving forward, and we'll be able to share what we can here with everybody because I know a lot of people are very much interested in this material.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I see a lot of cheering going on in the chat, and I want you to reserve your voice, though, Zen, for the second hour. I was thinking, if you wouldn't mind, if the book that I published with Tim and Anna last year, The Mystery of the Three Kings, based on Revelation of the Magi, that research, we tied it into a whole bunch of other books that you had recommended as well, Zen, like trying to think. Well, we tied it into, of course, the Bible. Also, Pseudo-Philo has some mentionings of Ophir in there, and a couple of the Dead Sea Scroll books. That content Tim also tied in there, and I was the editor for the book, so I also wrote the foreword. I was going to ask if you would mind if I would read part of that or some of that,
Yeah,
so people
please,
get
that
it.
would be awesome. Yeah,
Yeah, and
that would be
this
a
is
great
book
way.
is Sure, and then you can reserve your voice for second hour. And this book is available on Amazon. It's called The Mystery of the Three Kings. But if you would like to read it for free, it is at the godculture.com website, and you can download and read it for free. It's in full color. It includes maps like they have in their other books, a lot of great graphics, and it was really well put together. And I would recommend getting the hardcover if they have soft and hardcover. The soft cover is not in full color. I mean, it's still great, but the color really adds so much more to it. It's a little more expensive, but to me, it's worth it just because of the quality of it. But I wrote the foreword, and so you can get a little bit of background as to why I'm so attached to the Philippines and the people. So if that's okay, I'll go ahead and read, Zen.
Yeah, please.
Okay, so I started out, the people of the Philippines have endured more hardships as a whole culture than any other I know on earth. It is with this knowledge and witnessing their struggles firsthand that drew our interest to research their origins before the arrival of the Spanish on the ancient archipelago. No other national group has expanded to reside peacefully in every nation, often working abroad in menial and laborious occupations that Westerners depend on, but pay very little for their friendly services. In Hawaii, thousands of Filipinos were originally a part of organized slave labor camps, developed and recruited by Dole, Del Monte, and C&H companies directly from their home country, and boarded ships that offered free travel and lodging for single, healthy men. They resided in tiny shacks within camps on Oahu, Maui, and Kauai, and their pay averaged about 10 cents per day for the laborious field work of planting, watering, harvesting, and processing fresh pineapple and sugarcane. These migrant workers saved what little money they could and sent a large part of their paychecks to their families back in the Philippines. The majority of these workers were from Ilocos Norte, Luzon, and eventually would bring their families to live in Hawaii as well, often expanding their travel and work to include agriculture fields in California. It is no secret that Filipinos have excellent skills in tending to plants. We have visited over 100 foreign countries via cruise ship in the past 2 decades and have encountered Filipinos working in every one of them. They are the waiters, the chefs, and housekeeping staff on board during the day, and the entertainment crew in the evenings. They are the restaurant and hotel staff, the call center voices, they're caregivers for children, elderly, and disabled. Their welcoming, beautiful smiles and friendly dispositions make their personalities excellent for these positions. After living in a Filipino family for most of my life, I learned to appreciate the safety and stability within their family units that was lacking in typical USA families. Instead of sending their children away upon reaching adulthood, they embraced the young adults and provided rent-free living in an additional home located within the family compound until young couples saved enough money to provide their own shelter and food. It was comforting to know that if I became too sick to work or care for my house or my children, that we would not have to live on the street as part of a Filipino family. They rarely sent their elderly to live in an elderly care home. Rather, they were the caretakers of numerous elderly and foster homes that I worked with here in Hawaii. Their customs seemed biblical, and I did not understand why until recently. In 2018, during a certain broadcast of a large YouTube channel which we used to enjoy, the host described a familiar story of the wise men who traveled from the east to Bethlehem to see the long-awaited Messiah. Having a sarcastic tone, the host also mentioned some recent ridiculous research by another ministry on YouTube that claimed to prove these kings journeyed from the Philippines to Israel, where Messiah was born. I sat upright and I asked my Filipino husband to rewind the video so that we could take note of where this information was located. We immediately looked for the ridiculous channel and we stumbled upon the God Culture. Ever since that day, we have binge-watched hundreds of the God Culture videos, read every one of their published works, purchased their writings for friends and family, and did our own research on the history of the Philippines. We have arrived at the same conclusions as the God Culture team, proving their research is definitely not ridiculous. We prayed for more truths to be revealed since, and Yah is faithful. Last year, we were introduced to an obscure little book that had been fairly recently translated to English by Brent Landau, Revelation of the Magi. Our friend and author Zen Garcia, an authority on ancient writings, shared a summarizing version of it with us, and we immediately knew that the book would be a wonderful addition to the research done by the God Culture. With a prior knowledge of the origin of the kings of the East, it was easy to realize that the Magi were one and the same holy men who traveled to Bethlehem. During our latest visit to the Philippines, which we now call Ophir, Sheba, and Tarshish, I brought a copy of the Revelation of the Magi to share with the God Culture team in person, so that they would have even more evidence for the excellent research they had already discovered. It was an amazing journey to embark upon, and we were able to attend a huge conference, get to know the team, and travel to the Mount of the East, Mount Hibuk ourselves. We thank the Most High for continuing to fulfill prophecy in the end times while we explore this ancient land, as described in Daniel 12, verse 4. Many shall travel back and forth as mariners on the sea, that's in parentheses, my addition, and knowledge will increase in the last days, in parentheses, and that's from the Strongs. So that was my
Nice.
forward, Zen.
That's awesome. And yeah, it worked out really well because we're just a few minutes before break. Do you want to mention, just where people can go and find and support your work, and when you think this other one might be available?
Yeah, I think that the goal is by the end of the year. There's quite a bit of research we need to do on the second book that we're working on together. But if you'd like to read this Mystery of the Three Kings, the whole thing, you can read it for free at thegodculture.com. And you can also purchase it if you want a hard copy on Amazon. Just look up The Mystery of the Three Kings, or you could even just look up the God Culture books, and they have all of their books on Amazon. But like I said before, I would recommend you get the hardcover edition if you're going to buy similar to their Book of Enoch. They have probably the best Book of Enoch I've ever seen because it's all illustrated. It has flat Earth maps in there. It's got like a ton of amazing information in there. And their hardcover in Book of Enoch is similar to this, where it's all in full color, as opposed to their paperback copy, which is great information too, but it's cheaper, but it's not quite as the quality as the color copies. So, but yeah, go ahead and take a look. It's for free online. It's in full color online as well, if you want to read it there at thegodculture.com. And then after the break, I will have the questions so Zen can do his book giveaway. And which book is that again? You're planning to give away, Zen? Or
I'm
did you
going to
announce
give
that?
out some of the poetry books. The third one, The Different Way of Being. I'll give out 5 copies of that. Yeah, we'll do that.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I'll just think of one question then, and everybody get ready.
One
after the
question,
break.
and then
And the
people
first 5
can
people.
email me, the response, or put it in the chat. I mean, and you can, if they have it right, just get them to send me their addresses. And that'll be fun.
Okay. Okay, so everybody get ready. After the break, I'm going to ask a question, and the first 5 people in the chat to answer the correct answer will receive a copy of Zen's poetry book. What a great gift. That's exciting. I better get the question ready. Okay.
All right, sounds good. And I did find the material that I wanted to share from the Thracian Chronicles, and it's relevant for where we are as America, because with Trump coming into office and making all the changes to secure the borders and putting tariffs down on countries to equalize, trade and reciprocal tariffs. I mean, there's a lot of really incredible things happening. Even the drug seizures that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, the FBI director, and Pam Bondi, the Madam Attorney General, she's amazing, and Tulsi Gabbard is the director of national intelligence. There's a lot of really incredible things happening, and it's like a Josiah moment. When Israel had to, at one time, they had to turn away from their lawless and pagan ways in order to put themselves back into better relationship with the Most High. And in similarity, this teaching that we'll go into tonight is focused on that. So we'll be right back, everyone.
Further than the publishing of ancient manuscripts and weekly video content.
You also make a huge impact across the earth in orphanages in Myanmar, India, Uganda, and Kenya.
Your support is crucial for the development of the ecclesia of real truth seekers.
We thank you for joining us in hosting Secrets Revealed, Momentary Zen, the Digital Readers Club, Ask Me Anything series, and other shows that have helped lead so many to the truth of salvation.
To become even more involved, please visit patreon.com/sacredwordpublishing, where you can partake in exclusive, interactive, patron-only content and help us continue shining the light of love in this darkened world.
When Justin and I found out we were having a little girl, we named her Eliana and started dreaming of what life would be like with her, where we would take her, what we would teach her, and of course, what we would read to her. One day we walked around a bookstore looking for books we might want for her and found nothing. So we started brainstorming what exactly we would want. Even from a young age, we wanted her to know and understand the heart of God and hidden truths that are in ancient biblical manuscripts like the Book of Enoch, and the idea of the Prophecy for Children series was born. Justin got hard to work and praise Yah released the Prophecy for Children series. We are grateful for the support and amazing feedback from others who have been wanting the same for their children. With our newest addition to the family, Ezra, we also added Enoch's Judgment of the Giants to this prophecy series. We're excited to keep writing books for our children to share with our truth-seeking family. To order these books today, please check out sacredwordpublishing.com/collections/children's-store. Are the stories in the Bible true? What if I told you that there are hundreds of confirming witnesses, which give intricate detail to stories in the Bible? Have you ever found yourself deep in the rabbit hole with questions that no one seemed to have the answers to? Join us the last Monday of every month at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Endeavor Freedom YouTube channel for our Ask Me Anything series with author and researcher Dr. Joy Pugh as she sheds light on the mysteries which have us all searching together.
Hello, friends. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm your host, Zen Garcia.
Shalom and welcome back, everyone, from our short break here. We're having a little bit of technical issues. Zen should be joining us shortly. Zen, if you're listening, we are, if you can just check the chat and then you can rejoin through Teams. We're still kind of getting used to the software here. So yeah, but I do have a question for everyone to answer. Maybe one of the moderators can let me know if you guys can hear me. I have our question ready for our book giveaway that we can do while we're waiting for Zen to join. So if you guys can hear me, please let me know in the chat. I'm looking at that. And I really appreciate Sherry, Tammy, Brick, all you guys, Sharon. You guys are sharing such great links to all of the work that we've been discussing and describing, and it just really helps when people look at the chat to be able to connect to get all these books. Okay, great. Thank you, Tammy. Anyway, so I do have a question. So while we're waiting for Zen to join us, let me make sure that he is aware of what to do here. Okay, you guys get your Bibles ready, because the answer to this question for the free book giveaway can be found in the book of Matthew. And this free book giveaway is for 5 books. These are going to be for 5 of Zen's prized poetry books that are amazing. Believe me, I have copies of these things, and it is so. Oh, thank you, Sherry. Okay, great. You guys all hear me. Okay, so if you heard us during the last hour, we were discussing Zen is working on a new poetry book but he has written at least 2 poetry books, and I've read through one of them. You cannot miss this poetry book. I felt like I knew and understood Zen so much better after I read the poetry book, because you can really feel he puts his heart into this work, just like he does with all of his books. He's such a great writer. I'm just hoping that he is able to join us here in the chat here soon. Let me see. Believe Justin's trying to get in touch with him. But okay, so I'm going to ask the question, and whoever puts, I'm looking for the first 5 people to put the correct word, it's 1-word answer, in the chat, and then whoever, and I'll be monitoring the chat, and then if you're listed as a winner, as the first 5 people, if you can email Zen at zengarcia2010@gmail.com. Maybe one of the moderators can put his email in there so everyone is aware. You just need to send your address to him and mention that you were one of the winners of his poetry book, and then he can get those sent out to the first 5 people. So again, zengarcia2010@gmail.com is his email. All right, everyone ready for this question? It's from the book of Matthew 10, verse 16. I am sending you out as sheep in the midst of wolves, so be as wise as serpents and as gentle as blank. Again, I am sending you out as sheep in the midst of wolves, so be as wise as serpents and as gentle as blank. Okay, what is the word that goes in the blank? Whoever, the first 5 people who put that word in the chat, I'm going to take names down, and you will be the winners of Zen's new poetry book. All right, I'm seeing everybody's answering here. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the first 5 people who got it, congratulations to Moonlight, to Donna Smith.
Okay, you can hear me?
Oh, right on, Zen. Oh, right on. Okay,
okay, great. I
Okay,
apologize.
perfect.
I don't know what's going on, but after the first hour, just like last time, it booted me off. And
Yeah,
so
me
I don't
too.
know what's going on. But
Me
it's
too, me too.
this whole new setup, and
I
Justin
know,
sent
it's
me
so
the link to be
frustrating.
able to join back on the
Right.
call. So thank
I'm
God.
just so glad you made it back, Zen. And I just asked while we were waiting for you, I asked the question to receive your new book for the first 5 listeners. The question was from Matthew 10, verse 16. I am sending you out as sheep in the midst of wolves, so be as wise as serpents and as gentle as blank. And it looks like we have 5 winners already. Everyone is so excited to get your book. So congratulations
great.
congratulations to Moonlight, to Donna Smith, to Shay Cheney, to Iron Byron 444, and to Isaiah Chavez. So those are the first
awesome.
5 people who answered. Yeah, so congratulations to you 5. As I said earlier, just send Zen an email at zengarcia2010@gmail.com with your address.
Call, so
Okay, I'll let him know.
I don't want to pick it up and get disconnected.
Okay, there we go. I'm here. Are you there, Zen?
Yes, I am
Okay.
here. I don't
Okay.
see Revolution Radio on this stream though.
Yeah,
But
I'm not sure what's going on with that.
yeah,
There we go.
oh, there it is. Okay, praise God. All right, wonderful.
All
All
right.
right, thank you, son, for walking us through
Thank you,
this
Justin.
mess. All right. All right, now that we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and go into this Thracian material, because I think, as I was saying before the break, it is relevant to where we are as America, because since Trump has come into office, things have been greatly different, especially with the secure borders and like with the work of Elon Musk and Doge and how much fraud they've found It's like 6 million people receiving Social Security benefits that are supposed to be over 100 years old when there's only 40 such people in the rest of the world. I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous how much theft has been ongoing, because this is something that the Social Security Administration learned about in 2015, and yet they've kept paying out all of these fraudulent claims. And even small business loans have been given to kids with Social Security numbers that aren't even 10 years old. I mean, it's rampant fraud, and so we have arrived here in America at a turning point. And if Trump didn't get in office and reduce the debt, which I hope they balance the budget, that will take us out of the strain of future complications. But this particular manuscript is from the Book of Navi. It's chapter 8, and it also talks about and communicates how at one point the Thracian Empire had come to the point where they weren't even uh, servicing the temple or taking care of the people, and especially the poor and the less fortunate. And so that was also a theme here, um, that we, just like with all the buffets that people eat at, there's so much food thrown away every day. It could like take care of and feed those that are in need. And so it's just something I think it'll be relevant to review. So I'll go into the
Oh,
story.
definitely. Definitely. Thank you, Zen.
And at any time, Lisa, if you'd like to comment, just stop me and we can communicate that.
Okay.
All right. It says, after King Navka returned to his forefathers, his place was inherited by his son, Zoser, the great son of the great father. He built the first pyramid in Hemi, which is Egypt. His brother Yemhotep, who inherited the wisdom and the secret knowledge of his father. He was a regent of his brother Tozart in all his deeds and the laws of Hemi, which is Egypt. In the 18th year of the reign of King Tozart, the waters of the river Nile did not rise as usual and did not water the land with their life-giving tide. 7 years already the river Nile did not rise to the necessary level, and more than half of the fields remained without water and were drying. There were years of unprecedented famine. The nation was lifting prayers to God for rain and to the king for bread as the famine was getting tougher with each passing day. The 7th year was the worst, and King Tozart was in complete despair. The famine was so spread out that in all places the people rushed to rob each other. Hungry children were screaming in their mothers' hands. Elderly knelt in the dust waiting for death from the famine. Even the wealthy were suffering from poor food and despair, and there was no relief from anywhere. Even the temples were closed due to the lack of contributions, and God's altars in the holy places were abandoned. No one from the king's advisors had an answer to what should be done to make the situation better, until the answer came from the wise oracle, Yemhotep, which I do believe Yemhotep is Joseph. Trey Smith does a whole series on this association, which I found it to be very interesting because of the Thracian manuscript and the mention of Yemhotep. And it seems like, what we're reading is the 7 years of famine, the 7 lean years, after the 7 years of plenty. So, continuing. I will go to inquire for an answer from the ancient books with the godly words, Enoch's complete doctrine of wisdom, which is kept in the temple of life. For sure it is written in this book, which is the spring of the river Nile. And what are God's powers which control the level of the waters? If I found the exact words of power from the divine speech, which the Lord God alone pronounced and commanded the course and the current, then definitely the balance of the waters will be restored, and the desolate land will be revived. And when he went into the temple of the word of God, Imhotep began looking for the right words written in the book of life, as in God's word only. He had the wisdom given to him from above to read and understand it. He spent many days gazing at the holy letters and the lines, looking for an answer about everything which controlled the river of life. He found the text he was looking for, and he found the reason for the disasters in the land, and how he could bring back the fertility of the land and the balance of the world. He appeared with boldness before King Tozart, and he revealed to him the following: My brother, far away in the upper land, in the midst of the waters of the river Nile, is located an island, and the city called Aleph. It is the one whose foundation are the most ancient on that island. Because the city was established on the top of the first earth mound which rose from the dark waters of the flood, the hills which protect the city were from red and black granite, and abound with gold, silver, diamonds, emeralds, rubies, jasper, and carnelian. There is a temple in the heart of this city, which is called the Joy of Life. Deep under the temple are located the springs of the river of life, the Nile, which comes out from two wombs, caves, immediately when the time for the rising of the waters comes. They receive power from the reservoirs of God, the Creator Himself, who made man from clay, and He sculpted him as the potter sculpts the vessel on the potter's wheel. The God of our fathers, He is the one who gives the water of life, and He makes the river of life to water the whole world. He holds the keys for death and for Hades, and for the two wombs which open the fertility of the land. Yes, He is the only master of the wheat and the barley, of the fruits and of the vegetables, of the trees and the flowers, of the birds, the fish, and all the animals, and the whole nature is like a beautiful attire to Him. Only upon Him depends the prosperity of Trachea, Egypt, and the whole world. When King Tozart heard these words, he was very delighted that in the borders of his kingdom existed such a holy and strong place. Immediately he opened the books containing the rituals and the mysteries to find among them the ones which honor the great God, the Creator who created the first Adam. He is the one who sculpted everything, visible and invisible, with his mighty hand, and who has the keys of the springs of life and death and the whole of nature. In order to gain favor from God, He restored the ancient rites and spent the whole week in liturgical services and processions to the holy places, accompanied by many of the priests of God, the sun-giving Isis, and by the oracle Yemhotep himself. On the eve of the great feast of consecration of the waters, while he was in his bed, in his dream to him appeared the image of God's Lamb, God the Creator himself, and he was standing next to his bed. King Tozert immediately jumped out of bed and quickly bowed down to God and kissed the ground in front of his feet. Then God spoke to him like he was speaking to a friend. I am the God of your fathers and the creator of the whole of humanity. My right hand supports and affirms your kingdom. Didn't I give you the whole of Egypt, which is rich in gold, precious stones, grain, and every other good? Why then are my temples left without contributions, and my priests are forced to close them and starve? Don't you know that when my temples are closed, then the springs for the river are also closed? And when my priests are starving, the whole nation is destined to starve. Why then are my holy places abandoned, as are the liturgical services? The nation which abandons its God and the liturgical services also abandons its own prosperity. But because you have chosen wisdom since your childhood, and you interceded for the whole nation, and in the day of a disaster, you called on my name, and you restored the ancient services in my temples, because you honored my holy priests and my holy places. For this, here I am opening my treasures for you and for the whole nation, and the reservoirs of my life-giving living waters will open to water abundantly the land, and the level of the river of life will rise to the measure of abundance, and there won't be famine and death any longer, but comfort and abundance in the whole kingdom. Here I make everything new. And when God said these words, the vision faded and disappeared. King Tozer woke up joyfully and grateful to God that he forgave his people and he would bless again his country with fertility and abundance, so that such a calamity never happens again. King Tozer ordered a full recovery of all the temples, the holy places, and the liturgical services and mysteries performed in them. He also commanded the restoration of the mandatory contributions in the temple of God, which is the 10th portion of everything acquired under the sun, according to the commands of God's covenant with our fathers. All the ordinances of the king were carved on stone, so they could remain for an everlasting law for all living in the country, from the small to the large, from the poor to the rich, regardless of if the person is a citizen of the kingdom or not. God the Creator fulfilled his promises. He opened the springs of heavenly treasures, and the waters of the river spread abundantly, watering the whole country. The abundance and prosperity were overflowing in the whole country, and the kingship of King Tozert was remembered as the golden era in the land of Egypt. And aren't the many deeds of righteousness of King Tozart written in the books of the Chronicles? And we'll end there. Um, Lisa?
Wow, that was amazing reading, Zen. That everyone in the chat is so excited to hear you reading again. Is your voice doing okay today, brother?
Yeah, a little bit weak, but
Okay.
it does that when I read too much. But
All right.
yeah,
Well,
I'm still getting a lot stronger than I was. Where I was
yeah,
last
I
year.
can
So
tell. Oh, definitely. It's a million times better than last year. I've been looking in the chat, and Isaiah Chavez has a question for you that relates to the Thracian Chronicles. He's asking,
sure.
he said, Greek mythology talks about some of the gods originating from Thrace. Do you think that the Sibylline oracles and the Osseter hint at that Greeks thought that their patriarchs and children were giants? Or were gods? I'm sorry, were gods?
Yes,
I
I
can read it
do
again.
believe that. As far as because Greek and Rome, they are pagan, whereas Thrace, they worship the triune Godhead. And even in Egypt, the Thracian Empire had spread over, controlled Egypt before it fell away to its pagan ways. Before the children of Ham came in and took over the rule in Egypt. And of course, we know that they revere and worship these hybrid gods that are sometimes, like the head of a stork or the head of a crocodile. There were many hybrid gods that were in presence in that kingdom during that time. Just like during the Sumerian times, the Anunnaki, those who from the heavens to the earth came, they were present in the world and they were worshiped by the peoples. And so, in similarity, we have ancient Egypt and ancient Sumer also worshiping as Greek and Rome, these ancient pagan gods, which we know to be the fallen angels. I'll be right back and take some water.
Okay. In the meantime, while Zen is getting some water, I believe I can try to answer this question from Benjamin Curry. And if Zen, if you're listening, you can throw in more information I'll probably be missing. But Benjamin Curry is asking, and this is not really related to the Thracian Chronicles directly, but it is related to like their lineage. So he's asking, was Noah told to take Naamah from lineage of Cain, or was she related to Methuselah? Where can I read about this? Which is a great question, because I never knew about this until I started reading Zen's material and started reading the extra biblical to explain this.
That's
name.
a really good
There's two
question.
Naamas. Yes, go ahead, Zen.
According to the book of Jasher,
yes,
there's a Naamah that was from the line of Enoch, the seventh from Adam, of the children of Seth. And this Naamah was the daughter of Enoch. And Noah took her to wife, his first wife, and he had by her Japheth and Shem and Japheth. And then we're told in the book of what the writings of Abraham that Naamah, the sister of Tubal Cain, that Noah was instructed to take her as his second wife after his first wife passed away. And he would have by her the child Ham. And it would be through Ham and through Naamah that the seed of Cain would be preserved post flood. And I write about this in two places. One in the Great Contest 2, the enmity between the seed lines. In chapter 19, which is the very last chapter of that book, I share the story of how Noah was instructed to take Naamah as wife in order to preserve the seed of Cain and to give them continuity. And it's a very important question because a lot of people believe that the children of Cain, even if, the seed of the serpent had once existed long ago, they believe that they were wiped out with the flood, which is not true. And we see this in parable form found in Matthew chapter 13 on the parable of the sower and also of the kingdom. In that, Christ tells us the story of the enemy which snuck into the garden and sowed the tares. And he said, after he sends the masses away and is no longer speaking in parables, but directly to um, his apostles, he tells them very clearly that the tares are the children of the enemy, and the enemy is the devil, and that the devil is the father of the tares. And so, in the parable of the sower, the angels ask him, shall we go forth and gather the tares and root them up? And Christ says, no, lest you root up the wheat also. And so he wasn't going to pronounce judgment on them just because they were the children of Cain. He would give them reprieve until that time that they would sin and fall away and then lose their place in the grace of salvation. And so he says both, let both grow together until the time of the end. And at the time of the end, he would send forth his angels as reapers to gather the tares for burning, but the wheat for preservation. And we see this narrative revealed in Matthew chapter 13, verses 35 and onward, where he said that he would reveal secrets kept since the foundations of the world. Uh, and he also speaks about in Matthew chapter 25, in parable form, about the goat and the sheep, and how the goat represent the seed of Cain, the children of perdition, the sons of Belial, that are the seed of the serpent, and how the sheep represent the wheat, and those that hear his voice, that are numbered amongst the elect as his people, and that will inherit the salvation rest of the millennial age when New Jerusalem descends out of the heavens to be here on the earth. And God willing, we will all be with him for that period of time.
That is so cool, Zen. I wanted to throw in one more book that you referred to me to read more about what Naamah was like, the Naamah of Cain was like before the flood, and that's in the book of Lamech of Cain. Very, very vivid description of what the Naamah was like before the flood of Cain, because that's like the only writing that I've seen that gives that much detail. Is that right, Zen?
Yes, that is very true. And it's a very interesting narrative in that it tells you the story of this Lamech, who was the father of, Nama and Tubal Cain, and how he would wander around with this particular giant, and that was his best friend. And they would worship the Leviathan, which, of course, is another, one of the forms of the dragon, the Leviathan. And so they worshiped the devil, the seed of the serpent. Ye are of your father the devil. Um, in similarity, we see in the writings of Abraham that the children of Cain knew that they were excluded from the Melchizedek priesthood and the holy order of the ancients. And that's why it was that Ham stole the garments of power, and, that they tried to keep them for their bloodline, but Esau killed Nimrod and took them back to the children of Adam. and we know that Jacob inherited them from his mother Rebekah, and that he had given them first to Judah, but after Judah accused Tamar of, you know, in, of taking husband or laying with somebody, he didn't know that it was his own child, but he tried to accuse her and to have her burnt by fire. She was a daughter of Shem, and after that, we see that Jacob took back the rod of wonder and the garments of power, and he gave them to Joseph. And it was Joseph that inherited these, the coat of many colors, which is
Right.
a vesture dipped in blood, which is also related to the return of the Messiah in Revelation 19, that he will be wearing this vesture dipped in blood and wielding a rod of iron to rule over all the nations. It's the same thing, and I write about this also in the Vestures of Light and the Rod of Wonder. There's a lot of information about Nama and Noah and how the seed of Cain was preserved through the flood, how Noah was instructed to do this.
Oh, that's one of my favorite books of yours, then. That one and your poetry books. I mean, I love all your books that I've read so far, but those two stand out to me. Isaiah wanted to clarify about his question. He said that he was asking if the Greeks imposed their own gods onto the Thracian stories because they were already confusing Noah and his sons as Greek gods in the Sibylline oracles.
Yes, yes, and that's a very good point because Brett also, our friend from Mystery Babylon's series, he
Right.
talks about this in his work. But there's another book called The Travels of Noah Throughout Europe, which was a manuscript preserved and that was written by Berosus. And we know Berosus was the Chaldean astronomer that was tasked by Alexander the Great to write the prehistory of the antediluvian age. And he tells the stories of the fallen angels and the giants and how it is that they came to be revered as gods by the pagan cultures worldwide. But yes, Greek Greece initially inherited the mythologies of Thrace, which is why we see that the story of Orpheus is found amongst their mythology. When Orpheus was a Thracian priest king, and he was tasked in the book of Navi by the Lamb, the word of the Lord, to dig up the ancient writings which had been um, covered over by the flood of Noah's day. And he, like Abraham in the book of Jubilees, chapter 12, I believe it's verse 29 or something, thereabouts, Abraham is instructed in the pre Adamic tongue. And he is given the ability to read these ancient writings and he translates them for his people. In the same way, Orpheus was tasked with the same assignment, and he was led to this city that was buried and that had all these manuscripts that were the writings of the fathers that were brought over on the ark by Noah and that were preserved. Um, but Noah had hidden them in a specific place, and it was Orpheus, this Thracian priest king, that was led by the Lamb, by the word of the Lord, to finding these ancient manuscripts. And the Holy Spirit gave him the ability to read and translate them. And he then decoded them, deciphered them, and related them to his people and made them available in the same manner that we see in the story of the revelation of the Magi, that the Magi also being led to the cave of treasures by the Lamb, the who was the star of Bethlehem at that time. They were tasked by their fathers. Seth had told them that he had known from his father that Christ would be born of their bloodline after a certain period of time had passed. And he created the order of the Magi to watch, to be vigilant, and to wait for this manifestation. And that happened 5,500 years after Adam was exiled from paradise on what was Yom Teruah. And it was, in my opinion, on Yom Teruah that Christ was born, because he would come to redeem Adam and to rectify the fall on the very same day that Adam was removed from paradise. And remember, in ancient times, they the beginning of their year was on Yom Teruah, the first of the seventh month in the Hebrew calendar. And it was after the Exodus that the beginning of the years was changed to the first of Nisan, to the month of Abib. And so, um, and it also tells us in the legends of the patriarchs and the prophets that with his second advent, he would also return on the Feast of Trumpets, and that he would take his judgment seat on the Day of Atonement, and that New Jerusalem would descend out of the heavens, and the harvest, the determination of who would be, allowed to enter into New Jerusalem for what would be the fulfillment of the Feast of Tabernacles or Sukkot, that the three fall feasts will be fulfilled with Christ's second advent, whereas Pesach, Passover, unleavened bread, first fruits, and Shavuot or Pentecost, those were fulfilled with Christ's first coming. And if you don't know about all that, just look up a video that we did on the Leviticus feast days and how they were fulfilled by the first and will be fulfilled by the second coming of the Messiah.
Yeah, and Zen, this is so cool because the book that I'm writing, the Royal Pains or whatever I'm going to call it, it ties in this particular research about, when Adam was exiled from the garden, most likely on Yom Teruah, and he traveled to the east, and in the book of Jubilees says that he made a smoke sacrifice. He used different herbs that the Most High told him to use, very detailed on the Mount of the East. And so we always wondered, where is this Mount of the East where he did all this stuff, after he was, sent out of the garden, he did all that. And there is this particular mountain that is just east on the map that Tim and Anna from the God Culture have done all this research about. And this mountain in their native language is called Mount Hibbuk Hibbuk. And Hibbuk Hibbuk in Tagalog means I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And Adam was making this particular sacrifice to apologize for all that incident that happened in the garden. So and this mountain on Google Earth is actually called the Mount of the East. And Mount Safar is what it's called in the book of Genesis, in Genesis 10. And it's talked about how Joktan, that was the brother of Peleg. Peleg was the ancestor of Abraham. Joktan was his brother, and Joktan had 12 children. And Joktan traveled to the east with several of his children. These particular children were named Sheba, Havilah, Ophir. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, right? It's in Genesis 10 that all these guys traveled. It says their land was as you go to the Mount of the East, which is Mount Safar, which is Mount Hibbuk Hibbuk, which Noble and I went up last year and got to see. This is where the Cave of Treasures is. This is where the wise men hid, the wise men not hid, but got the gold, frankincense, myrrh that Adam and Seth put into this cave like thousands of years earlier. And in preparation for the Messiah. And, and we read in the Revelation of the Magi how their ritual to go up this particular mountain, do their ritual washing in this particular spring at the bottom of the mountain, that Noble and I actually went in Burra Spring, which means cleansing spring, Burra in their language. You go up Mount Hibbuk Hibbuk, which is actually it's a very large mountain, but it's like on this island called Cummigan Island. And that particular island, all this ties together. This is in this book I'm writing. Kamigan Island is known for a festival that they have every October because it has the best lanzones on the entire country of the Philippines. And if you remember, lanzones is traced back to the word lashon, which means poison, which is most likely, because it fits the description in the book of Enoch, to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, that fruit. And so that's like celebrated on this island every year, the Lanzones Festival, and it's delicious fruit. It's no longer poisonous. There's an ancient story in Tagalog in the Philippines that an angel appeared to someone, a man who was hungry, and that was the only fruit, and nobody ate from that because they knew it was poison. It has the appearance of the clusters of the grape of the vine, but it's a tree. It matches the exact description in the book of Enoch as to what this fruit looked like. And it's because it appears like a cluster of grapes, but you peel it. And the inside is the fruit. The angel appeared to the man, said, "This tree is no longer poisonous. You can eat from it." And that's the very island where Mount Hibuk is located. So it's so crazy how all of this comes together with everybody's research. And we know that knowledge will increase in the last days. And so I believe that that's why finally we are realizing where all these things happened in the Bible. It's no longer this mystery of this mystical land that nobody knows where it's at. It's like, it's so obvious when you can find over 100 maps that point to where paradise was located, where the Garden of Eden was located, and it's all in the Philippines. So it's just like, wow. Thank you so much for sharing all that information. I just think it's so cool how it's tied together.
It's crazy amazing how, I've been working on these Thracian Chronicles for well over a decade now, and the information that has come forth on that, and reading the Revelation of the Magi, sharing all that, how that links together with the primary Adamic literature and the prophecy that Christ gave to Adam, that when he would be removed from paradise, that he would be exiled, on what was Yom Teruah, to this particular area, and how he would later lead the kings or the magi from the east to the cave of treasures to gather what he had given Adam, which was the gold, the frankincense, and the myrrh, and that they would then carry them and prophetically fulfill the prophecy that he had given to Adam, that they would gather these items from the cave of treasures and all of the ancient manuscripts that had been carried over by Noah on the ark, and then bring them to the cave where he would be born in Bethlehem, which was, the cave that Rachel and some of the other patriarchs were in attendance and living, buried within. So all of this is just so crazy how all these stories finally come together to give us the clarity on what is the bigger picture.
Oh, yeah. And we know from Revelation of the Magi that there was not just 3 wise men. It doesn't say that anywhere in the Bible. There was only 3. There was 12, plus their sons that they had trained to take their place. They did this generationally. So after the fathers would pass away, the sons were already trained to know what to do, to go take the ritual bath once a month, to hike up the Mount Hibuk to the Cave of Treasures, to pray, and the way that the Magi prayed was silently, just raising their hands to Abba, and then they would come down and go back to their homes, and their land is in Revelation Magi is called Shir, is the land that they're from, and right near Kamigan Island, where Mount Hibuk is located, there's another island called Shirgao. And so that matches up perfectly as to where the Magi would have lived, because there's nobody really that lives on this particular mountain. We didn't locate the Cave of Treasures. That would have been cool. I'm sure it's heavily guarded by somebody, but it says in Revelation of the Magi that the Cave of Treasures is identical to the cave where Messiah was born. And so I just think it's so cool because it's on totally opposite sides of the world. It took them almost 2 years, right, to travel following the star, which was the Messiah himself. And he talked with them, and he was like lit up the whole world, but only the Magi could see him. Otherwise it wouldn't, it would, otherwise we'd have it in history that the whole world was lit up for what, almost 2 years, but it was only specific to them. Like only very specific people were allowed to see this light. Not even Herod could see it because he was asking about that. He was asking, well, how did you get here? And right, had to look in have his scribes look in their own manuscripts to find out who this Messiah was and when he would be born. So I just think it's neat how it's all connected, and we've had to weed through so much deception. Like I was always taught the Magi came from Babylon all this time. But that doesn't make sense because it would not have taken them almost 2 years from Babylon to Israel. Like that's more like a month on camel or whatever, however they traveled. It had to be somewhere very far away, like in the Far East, where the star appeared. So I think that's really cool.
Right. And it makes much more sense that there would be 12, with the 12 tribes and all. But we have a question from Isaiah, and I want to answer this before we get to the end of the show. He says, question for Zen: are you familiar with Stephen Guide and his son Jordan Guide in regards to translating some of the Thracian writings? Yeah, I am very much familiar with Dr. Stephen Guide. The bishop that will be coming on with us next Wednesday is his brother, Savetan Guide. And both of them worked on the 4 books of the Thracian script decoded, which I actually have copies of those manuscripts. The first 30 pages or so are in English, but the rest is in the ancient dialect of Bulgaria, which is Bohairic, and that's part of the stuff that my friend Stella is working on translating. So, yes, Brother Isaiah, I'm very much familiar with the Thracian script decoded material. And if you're not familiar with our work on the Thracian Chronicles and the Thracian Epistles, we do have a playlist of the manuscripts that we have released. The ancient book of Atum and Ua, which is the origin for all the other primary Adamic literature material. We did release the Chronicles of Longinus, which Longinus or Longinus, he was the Thracian Thracian soldier that pierced the side of Christ. And when he did so with the spear of destiny, the blood dribbled into his eye and healed because he only had use of one eye. He had lost the other in combat. And his eye was healed, and thereafter he goes out and seeks dialogue with some of the apostles, and he talks about in the Chronicles of Longinus the story of meeting Lazarus after he had been brought up from the dead, and speaking with Martha and also Mary Magdala. And so all of that is found in the Chronicles of Longinus. And we also have released information on the book of Ari, which Ari means guardian or keeper of the secrets or the holders of the wisdom. And that book, the manuscript, tells the ancient history of the Thracian people, beginning post-flood with Japheth, and all the way down through, even ruling over Egypt, because the Thracian ruled over Asia, the Middle East, and the Mediterranean area, like Rome did 2,000 years before Sumer. And they were believers in the Elohim, which is the triune Godhead. And they also worship and revere Rhea as the mother, the feminine aspect of the Godhead, which is another confirming witness to my work. It's amazing how much of the Thracian material has confirmed so much of the work that I've done when, nothing else up until that time had. Besides, a lot of the material that I was sourcing from a lot of the extra biblical books, but this was something that came completely out of the blue and which aligned completely with the work that I was doing on serpent seed, pre-existence, wisdom, Sophia being the feminine aspect of the Godhead, all of that. I mean, it's crazy. So
Yeah,
I
and I
look
think
forward to getting this material out to people.
Oh yeah, I think as knowledge increases more in the last days here that we're in, a lot of the naysayers that have like tried to push your name into the mud, Zen are really going to have to take back what they're saying because there's so much more information that's being released, on a constant basis that backs up what you've already discovered and what you've already written about. And I think a lot of the ministries out there on YouTube are going to have to take back what they said, just because there's so much more evidence. I mean, when you have you already had multiple witnesses for anything that you share, but when more and more things are being released, like the recent books from the Vatican, the Thracian manuscripts, who knows what else is going to be coming out that
Right.
will really show that what you're saying is true and that they just didn't they spoke too fast.
Yeah, I know a lot of the things that I say are, contrary to majority opinion, and that a lot of people did not like the things that I was talking about. And that's okay. I had no problem with that, even though I was attacked and banned and alienated from so many different shows, podcasts, and ministries. It is what it
Well,
is. But it
it's
is
their
nice
loss.
to see. Go ahead, Lisa.
No, I just said it's their loss. I mean, the to not have your information, and I'm sorry. Continue, Zen.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say it is nice to see that some of the issues that I've been talking about for, decades now, like pre-existence and the antediluvian age and the prior times and all of that, that now a lot of people are doing work on that material. And it has become, common knowledge. I mean, it's absolutely clear that the fallen angels were here before we were, and that they were the ones that constructed all of these megalithic cyclopean sites, which we can't replicate even in this day and age. I mean, we
Right.
cannot even create that stuff now. So how is it that, they say that it, hominids as hunter gatherers, that the Neanderthal ancient hominids, that they somehow created all of these structures that are aligned to the stars? It's ludicrous. It's absolutely
Oh,
ludicrous.
it's crazy. There's a YouTube channel I discovered called My Lunch Break. I don't know if you've seen that one, Zen, but he does really great
I
work on the
haven't.
ancient architecture. He does really amazing work if you want to check that out. It's called My Lunch Break. So it's
Yeah, I'll do that.
yeah, he does great work on the ancient structures and just like what you're describing. But it looks like we're at the end of our show here.
We are.
Expecting the music to come on anytime here.
Yeah, I want to thank you again, Lisa, for always riding shotgun with me and for having such informed opinions and commentary, and for everybody in the chat, especially our moderators. We love you all.
Amen. It's an honor to be here, Zen. Thank you so much again for all that you do, all your sharing, and we'll continue to keep you in prayer for your health. Your voice will be back 100% one day soon. And we're just blessed to be here. Everyone in the chat is blessed to be here too. They're just so excited. They said we finally found our family. We'd feel loved and
Yes,
accepted. And that's exactly, I think, that what you had in mind when you started this ministry, right?
absolutely. I had no idea it would lead to this, but praise God it did. And I want to thank my son for continually bailing me out of my technical difficulties and for helping me stay on pace and keep track with all this technology. Love you, son.
Amen. Amen.
Love you all. Thank you, Lisa. Send our regards. Happy birthday, Noble. Good to see you, Isaiah. Everybody send me your address for the books. ZenGarcia2010 @gmail.com.
All right. Thank you,
We love you
everyone.
all.
Shalom. Thank you, Zen.
Shalom. Good night. Be
Shalom.
blessed.
Good night.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this video and this broadcast. We appreciate all of you and thank you for your patronage. Please do like and subscribe and share with your friends. God bless all of you in your seeking.